The Canadian government has tabled a bill to repeal 20 mandatory minimum sentences. The Justice Minister believes they disproportionately hurt Indigenous and Black people. But will this move address systemic racism in the court system? Michael Couteur looks at justice reform that has the judges being judged.
Being stopped by police, even being just harassed for no reason.
Growing up as an Indigenous person in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Chief Derek Fox remembers feeling targeted as a result of systemic racism. It's a problem the government is trying to fix by removing some mandatory minimum penalties for certain offences. But Fox wonders what is being done to root out racism in the judicial system. We're
not just going to see a sudden decrease of Indigenous or Blacks or people of color within our jails.
Justice Minister David Lametti says judges and prosecutors want the discretion to use a conditional sentence instead of the mandatory minimum. But he also admits there's a certain degree of systemic racism in the judicial system, and he hopes a bill already before Parliament will help.
We have a bill in front of Parliament right now that would train judges not only in sexual assault, but also other social contracts training.
Some community activists say new training isn't enough to stop old habits created by mandatory minimum sentences. One idea is a system to judge judges.
The goal is that this oversight committee would identify judges that have this bias. It's not going to be explicit, it's implicit, it's rooted in the judgment, and they would be barred from adjudicating cases with minorities or Indigenous communities.
Many of the mandatory minimums the Liberals are targeting deal with drug possession. Lametti believes diversion programs like drug treatment can be an alternative to jail sentences. But those programs are already overburdened.
Sort of opening the floodgate around the reduction in mandatory minimums could have an impact in further increasing wait lists and time for people to access those services.
The government has earmarked more than $28 million over the next 5 years for these types of programs. But Minister Lametti admits more funding will be needed. Michael Couteur, Global News, Ottawa.